proud sponsor of three of the biggest and most prestigious awards in Africa. I'm talking about the Nigeria Prize for Science and the Nigeria Prize for Literature, as well as the Nigeria Prize for Literary Criticism. Now, the first two actually go for $100,000. Now, if you have any idea how much dollar to naira rate is now, you will know that these winners definitely would be going home smiling tonight. And the very last one, which is not the least, of course, which is the Nigeria Prize for Literary Criticism, it goes for a whopping 1 million naira. But it's not just about the money, it's about how much these people, these nominees, have been able to contribute and give back to society. Now, we are at the Grand Award Night 2024, of course, and I have to say that there is a special something that's going to be unveiled tonight. I can't say what. I've tried to find out from the guests. Some described it as wow, some described it as extraordinary, something that shows that the future of LNG is indeed bright. So if you know that you are ready to tune in and, of course, have a fantastic night with us, we are now live on YouTube on the LNNG page. I'm Shaitan Atigari, and I will be going inside very shortly to make sure I enjoy the night just like you.
Thank you.
Was that okay?
Yeah, nice one. Yes.
What are you watching?
The only thing I'm in charge of is my charger. And that is where my wife allows me to use it. Before I got married, I was an Arsenal fan. As I speak to you, I support Nickelodeon. How I started watching Z-World, I don't know. I'm happy to announce to you all that I'm not the head of my family. I'm a member of my family. It is what they tell me to do that I do. One of my friends got married some months ago. He now called me. After 2 weeks, he said, forever, marriage is sweet. I said, don't rush. The guy said, don't understand. I said, I cannot explain it. You are not married yet. You are doing it. When you marry, you will know. The guy said, how will you know? I said, will it happen to you? 1 month later, that guy called me around 1 a.m. in the morning. As I answered the call, I asked him, my brother, what is the problem? He said, how did you know? I said, because no man calls another man by this time to gist. We call to complain. I said, so what is the problem? He said, the problem is he does not know what the problem is. I said, now you are married. I said, so rewind. What happened? He said the wife told him that she's not happy with him. He now said he's sorry, thinking that the matter have ended. The wife now asked him the golden question, what exactly are you sorry for? I said, my brother, don't tell me. You said, I don't know. He said, that's what I said. I said, your marriage have scattered. He said, what do I do? I said, my brother, I'm 8 years in marriage. You call your father that is 40 years in marriage. He has 32 years of extra experience. He might be able to help you, of which I'm not sure, but just try. The guy called his father. After narrating everything to his father, for the first time in his life, his father called him my brother. The guy said, Daddy, you just called him my brother? The guy said, yes, you're a man like me. You have wife, I have wife. You face your family, I'll face my family. As I'm talking to you, your mother was quarreling, so allow me sleep. Let me face my own. You sort your own. Now, senior and senior, you know, can't kill me for this family. If pastor say all married men stand up, both of us will stand up. They won't say who is father, who is son. Allow me sleep. In the morning, the guy called me back and said, forever, please, what is wrong with that question? And I told him that in marriage, there are certain questions that don't have answer. You leave it for God. Question number one, your wife asks you, my husband, what will you eat? I cook rice. If you have two Eze beans, you will not believe how they will settle that matter. I told the guy, question number two, your wife asks you, what number am I in your life? I said, don't you ever make the mistake and say number one. He said, why? I said, because the way some women reason, she will say if I'm number one, is there number two somewhere that I'm not aware of? He says, so what do I tell her? I say, tell your wife, you are my Lord and personal Savior. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's still the Grand Award Night 2024.
And would like to quickly recognize some distinguished guests who are here. We'd like to recognize the MDBOI, represented by Madam Ifoma Izokpala. Please, a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. We'd also like to recognize the MDNPA, represented by Mr. Olalekon Badmos. Also, we have today the Inspector General of the Nigerian Police, represented by AIG Margaret Ochala. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome the Advisory Board for the Nigeria Prize for Science on stage. While we wait for them to come on stage, we would like you to look to your screen.
Earth, it's our home. Every living thing, essentially, derives its existence from the planet. So the importance of protecting the planet isn't just an environmental imperative, it's also about protecting our livelihoods and everything that we need to survive as living beings. Civilization is the biggest danger facing us. It is the momentum that we need to sustain development. Energy that you produce in your kitchen, for instance, the energy that is produced from power plants, the energy that is produced in industries, which all emit CO2 and several other greenhouse gases, contributes to global warming, and how global warming contributes to climate change, and how climate change in turn hurts our planet. If we decide not to do anything, the Earth's surface temperature could rise by between 4 to 5 degrees C. There will be accelerated drought in places like Nigeria, for instance. So it will have big impact on drinking water access, food security, and health. We stem this tide by cutting down on emission of CO2 and other greenhouse gases. We need to also find a way to increase CO2 removal from the atmosphere. And those are what they call carbon removal technologies. I found myself doing a PhD that was intended to deliver some key objectives for climate change. And that all started in 2010 when I met Professor Wang. Professor Wang had already done lots of research about carbon capture developments for power plants. And that was when he started exploring the idea of process-intensified carbon capture. And this is where we started working together. I think there about 2018, Dr. Jide Otitoju joined the team as a PhD student. The biggest challenges for carbon capture is high cost. Putting it in perspective, Nigeria's target of reaching net zero is estimated to cost started intensified carbon capture. We were able to develop a system that reduced the cost by over 50%, and that was a significant milestone.
The advisory board affirmed the recommendation of the panel of judges, which put forward the joint entry by Eniokum, Olajide Otitoju, and Mehon Wang as the most outstanding entry in the 2024 the Nigeria Prize for Science.
To be recognized in your country, I think it's something that everybody looks forward to. It's something that is very special for myself and Jide as Nigerians. And for Professor Wang, it feels double special for him. Speaking like the kid that grew up going to farm every day in Nigeria, by protecting the earth, by protecting the land, by protecting the sea, by protecting the air, we can give life back to the people.
Grand Award Night. Dr. Chikwe Ekwazu, World Health Organization's Assistant Director General for Health, Emergency, Intelligence and Surveillance System, and other very distinguished dignitaries. Permit me to stand on the already established protocol established by the MCs. On the 9th of September 2024, the advisory board, during a press conference, declared Professor Eni Oko, Professor Olajide Ochitoju, and Professor Mehon Wang's work on process intensification technology for greenhouse emission control in power generation and industry for sustainable fuel production, which is commonly called peak fuel, as the incontrovertible winner of the Nigeria Prize for Science 2024. Therefore, my task this evening is to invite the winners upstage to receive the award. However, before I do that, permit me to state that the call for entries of the Nigeria Prize for Science 2025 cycle will go out in February 2025. The theme for Nigeria's Prize for Science 2025 is innovation in ICT, artificial intelligence, and digital technologies for development. I think it is quite thematic because when the managing director, CEO of Nlng was speaking, he dwelled extensively on artificial intelligence. So that's for next year. We look forward to receiving quality entries for consideration. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it gives me pleasure to present to you the winners of the Nigeria Prize for Science 2024, centered on the theme, Innovations and Technologies for Reducing Effect of Climate Change, for their work, Process Intensification Technology for Greenhouse Emission Control in Power Generation and Industry for Sustainable Fuel Production, peak fuel. Thank you very much. So, they're supposed to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, please let's welcome the winners of the Nigeria Prize for Science. A round of applause for them as they make their way to the stage.
And to present the awards to them, we'd also like to invite to the stage the Deputy Managing Director, Nlng, Mr. Kunle Oshobu. He is going to be presenting the awards to them. Please welcome DMD Nlng, Mr. Kunle Oshobu. Please, sir, come help us present the awards to them.
A round of applause as he makes his stage. Thank you, DJ. Thank you. Dr. Philip will help us do the honors of presenting the award. Ushers? Ushers. Congratulations to the winners. A round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen. Nigeria Prize for Science Award. A round of applause. Thank you.
Congratulations, Dr. Olajide Otitoju, Dr. Nlng, and Professor Wang. It is truly the world knowing your name, like that song is saying. And we celebrate you. We celebrate you. NLNG celebrates you. Nigeria celebrates you. Everyone here celebrates you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Now, before we allow the winners to take their leave, ladies and gentlemen, you would agree with me that it would be important for us to hear from them. So we would ask them for an acceptance speech before they go. From the winners, an acceptance speech. We'd like to hear from you.
Yes.
Please, another round of applause for them, ladies and gentlemen. It's no mean feat. It's no mean feat.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is with great pleasure that my colleagues, Professor Wang and Dr. Otitoju and myself, received the Nigerian Prize for Science 2024. We dedicate this award to the memory of our great friend, Professor Colin Ramshaw, whose pioneering work in process-intensified technologies inspired us all. Professor Colin Ramshaw was a great inventor and was also a great mentor for all of us. I want to also specially thank Professor Wang, who's been a great boss to myself and to Dr. Otitoju, and who is also now my collaborator. We want to also thank our families, our wives, our parents, who are also here present, and to our collaborators in China, in the UK, and Europe. We want to also acknowledge their various supports to us. We want to also thank our various funders, the UK Research Council, the European Commission, among others, and of course, the various PhD students and research associates that has worked in our team over the years. We want to tell you all that this award belongs to all of us. We want to, for me especially, I want to also acknowledge the support that I have personally received from a very inspirational teacher of mine who has traveled a long distance to come here. Ladies and gentlemen, Lady Cecilia Okole, who is here with us. And also, I want to thank PTDF. PTDF gave myself and Jide the opportunity to go and study in the UK, so thank you, PTDF. And I want to lastly acknowledge the enormous contribution of Nlng to science development in Nigeria, of course, and Africa at large, and for supporting this prize for the past 20 years. And I'll also acknowledge the various roles of the panel of judges and, of course, the advisory board. Thank you all for believing in us, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
Just listening to the acceptance speech on behalf of the winners for the Nigerian Prize for Science, Kunle, I am reminded of the Nigerian saying that it takes a village. Listening to his acknowledgement, it truly takes a village. So someday, when I'm receiving my own prize, whether it's the Nigerian prize for literature or Nigerian prize for science, as we say in Nigeria, at all, not bad. Anyone, I'm happy to take it. I would call your name and say, that day, I was a co-host with Kunle, and I want to thank you. I want to appreciate you. I had a dream, and you believed in me. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're happy to support my vision, please do so that when I do the list of acknowledgements, you'll be on the menu. Without further ado, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Majesties, I'd like to welcome our keynote speaker. I'll say a little bit about our keynote speaker, and very soon I'll get out of your way and allow you listen to the wisdom and knowledge by our keynote speaker. Our keynote speaker is a Nigerian epidemiologist and a public health expert. He is the Assistant Director General at the World Health Organization, WHO, leading the WHO Hub for Pandemic and Epidemic Intelligence in Berlin, Germany. Before joining WHO, he served as the DG of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, from 2016 to 2021, where he played a critical role in managing Nigeria's response to various outbreaks, including Ebola and COVID-19. With a background in medicine, epidemiology, and infectious disease control, Dr. Ihekwezo is recognized for his expertise in global health security and for his leadership in pandemic preparedness and response.
Ladies and gentlemen, our keynote speaker tonight, please welcome Dr. Chikwe Ihekwezo. A round of applause, please. Let's welcome him.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Firstly, my brother, Philip Sheblia, thank you very much for this invitation. The Ama Nyanabo of the Grand Bonny Kingdom, thank you very much, sir. I've been sitting next to you, watching you with the corner of my eyes as you sit humbly, managing proceedings this evening. The representative of Mr. Governor, and of course, my Minister of State for Health, Dr. Tunji Alaosa, distinguished guests, esteemed awardees, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you. Thank you, Nigeria LNG, for your kind invitation to this prize event for literature and science. And thank you for organizing this event for 20 years. Who would have thought that this prize would continue to thrive in a country where, unfortunately, many remarkable initiatives end even before they reach their full potential? Tonight, we gather to celebrate Nigeria LNG's remarkable success in its well-deserved reputation as being one of Nigeria's best-run companies. You stand as a beacon of hope for our nation's future. Your operations have not only generated revenue for our country, but it has created jobs, stimulated economic growth, and inspired a new generation of Nigerians. During these times of intense uncertainty, you give us something to hold on to. The theme of tonight's event, The Future, challenges us to think critically about the country we want to build. And I crave your indulgence to join me in a short journey to think about this together. A future where our youth can thrive, our economy can grow, and our nation can take on its rightful place. A future in which we can hold up our heads high again. But before I talk about the future, let me just say a few words on literature and science, because those are the two awards we're celebrating today. Since recently completing a book with my lovely wife, Vivian, who joins me here today, I have gained an even greater appreciation for the dedication and resilience that writers invest in their craft. Whether you're writing fiction or non-fiction, you must allow yourself some vulnerability by sharing a part of you with the world. As we introduced this book around the world over the last 2 months, one of the first questions we were often asked, "You mean you wrote this with your wife?" And I know what they were really thinking, but not voicing, was the second part of the question. And you did not kill each other? But the experience was rewarding for us, and yes, we learned a lot on how to appreciate how challenging and beautiful writing can be. So congratulations to the prizes, to the winners of the prize for literature. I would also like to express my appreciation for the prize for science. Science lies at the heart of the work I do every day. A society that does not encourage science will always be a passive recipient of knowledge. When I asked ChatGPT this question, as one does these days, it replied, "A society that does not encourage science will struggle with poorly informed decision-making on critical issues, resulting in negative consequences for its development." Well, maybe that explains a few things on what is happening to our country today. The world is at the beginning of a new age for science, with opportunities that artificial intelligence presents. And the question for us collectively is whether we want to participate in this. Do we want to participate in that future? That really is a question for us. But now to the theme, the future we must create. But before diving into that, I'd love to reflect a little bit on the past. My past, especially growing up in a small village. A small village, the then beautiful Nsukka campus of the University of Nigeria. My mother was in the arts, rising to become the first female professor on campus. My father was one of 3 doctors that cared for the health of campus students and staff. Tragically, after her tenure as Dean of Faculty of Arts, as they say, Nigeria happened to her, and we lost her in a car accident in 1991. But it was at this intersection between science and arts that I spent my childhood. Nsukka campus in the 70s and 80s was an unbelievably idyllic environment. You can imagine the hills, the red sand, the playgrounds, and the warmth of the campus community. But my fondest memories were stories of Nigeria's future that were shared on the dining tables in our sparsely furnished university bungalow. As described in our book, An Imperfect Storm, I had no idea at the time what it meant for my parents to have casual visitors that were named Chinua Achebe, Anya Oanya, Obiora Udechukwu, Ikenna Obiechina, Madu Ewesi, Ifemesia, Adichie. Yes, it's not the Adichie that many of you would know, but Professor and Professor Mrs. Adichie, the parents of Ngozi Chimamanda Adichie. This was in the 70s. In the 70s, and they had all just come out of a devastating war that impacted lives and was ever present in their consciousness. Yet, I do not recall a single instance where they agonized about the past. Instead, I remember vibrant discussions about the Nigeria that they envisioned. These dinner conversations extended late into the night until they would all drive home in their 404s and 504s across campus. I would fall asleep fantasizing about Nigeria's future through their stories. In my imagination, the future could not be brighter. So when my brother Philip, the MD of Nigeria Nlng, asked me to talk about the future we want to create, I could not but reflect on the conversations of my parents and their friends. Today, I am older than my father was at the time, and we're again at crossroads. I am genuinely afraid that my generation might also let down our own children by not delivering for them the future that is surely within their grasp. Many of you in this room this evening, I know, share this anxiety. You share the anxiety that our own children, especially those privileged to have an education outside of Nigeria, may not feel as connected to our country as we do, because they have many more choices, and the world is pulling them in different directions. They neither have the post-independence or post-war optimism that drove many of us. Now, permit me to lay a foundation based on my more recent experiences. Let me state for the record that although I don't take my current role for granted, my greatest fulfillment definitely comes from serving my country as the Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control. Thank you. Thank you. Through this experience, I gained first-hand insights into the workings of government. Today, when people mention FEC or NEC, the National Assembly or the Villa, I feel neither trepidation nor awe. I have witnessed them at their best of times and sometimes at their worst. Our path forward is always shaped by the lessons learned, the challenges we've faced, the foundations laid by previous experiences. The future is never built in isolation of the past, and our public health response to the COVID-19 pandemic exemplifies this like nothing else. In 2016, when I started my journey as DG, we were not preparing for a pandemic. We were focused on building an agency to lead us into the future. We needed a resilient national public health agency capable of weathering both visible and invisible storms. I understood that this would demand much from me. I shared with Vivian the conversations in my parents' sitting room about the future that they saw for our country. Now, we are suddenly in a position to contribute to that future. So with her support and that of my family, we got down to work. I knew we had to create something lasting, sustainable, and special. We wouldn't be prepared for the future if we adhered to the old models and didn't change our mindset and our systems. So we set out to work slightly differently from many other government parastatals, embracing an agile and entrepreneurial spirit. This would not be like any other government agency. We aim to establish an efficient public sector agency that would challenge conventional wisdom on what was possible within the constraints of our country. Today, I want to share a few simple actions that we took that should be the standard for every public sector agency that prepared us for the pandemic we faced in 2020. I will focus on only 3 examples of the changes we implemented in a small public sector agency. Very few people, and you can bear me witness, had heard about NCDC before the pandemic, when the phrase, according to NCDC guidelines, became one of the most widely broadcast terms in media channels in Nigeria. This phrase provided confidence in very difficult government decisions during a period of deep uncertainty. While these examples might be trivial in the private sector, at least I hope so, they are far from insignificant in our public sector. One of the first crucial steps we took in NCDC in 2016 was to build a digital infrastructure for long-term growth. Previously, NCDC had relied on paper-based processes and manual intervention. It lacked a website, it stored data in Excel sheets, and used Gmail and Yahoo emails for communication. When I arrived on my first day in NCDC, I told my team that I would not send a single email out of this parastatal from a Gmail account. They said to me, DG, it is not possible, oh. This is not how we do it here. From wherever you have come, let's settle down and walk the way we walk in our country. However, we moved a few mountains and achieved this in a week. As well as building the foundation for a website, we transitioned all the staff in NCDC from personal emails to official NCDC email addresses, building a more professional and secure communications network. We developed a website from scratch, ensuring it was updated daily. Data became the cornerstone of all our operations. From there, we built an IT team in NCDC from the ground up, ensuring our data was securely stored and could be analyzed and acted upon anytime. This wasn't IT for technology's sake. Every team at NCDC recognized that data was essential for decision making. We transitioned all our processes from email to HR and financial management into a digital environment. I must confess, we didn't manage to fully transfer our procurement process to digital because we were not allowed to. But we instituted a digital tracking system for every folder. So from my office, I could tell exactly how many days every folder sat on anybody's desk in the parastatal I managed. We backed up all our data on a secondary system and made sure everyone recognized that this was not business as usual. To create a realistic digital environment for our future, we have to digitalize all government services. It is not rocket science. It can be done. We showed it can be done. I'm not talking about theory. I'm talking about something we implemented for 5 years in NCDC. However, this cannot be done by every agency on its own. Independently negotiating with Microsoft services and Amazon Web Services like we did, we could have significantly reduced the costs for the services we procured if we had procured as a federal government of Nigeria and not a small parastatal in the Ministry of Health. Secondly, so that's on digitalization. Secondly, we understood that to build trust with the Nigerian people and the global community, we had to establish an effective public health response to the threats we faced through clear, timely, and transparent communication. To achieve this, we invested in building a communications team. The team was made up mostly of young people, yes, and they were equipped and empowered to ensure that the public remained focused, reassured, and engaged. It was important for me as DG that communication wasn't solely the responsibility of the Director General. And you will see in many parastatals across the country that the only spokesperson that parastatal has is the Director General. We decided to break this norm. Staff at all levels needed the skills and the confidence to speak directly to the public that we serve. We prioritize media training for staff, understanding that effective communication goes beyond just delivering information. It was about building trust. We developed a team of spokespersons across all levels of the organization, from directors to mid-level and even junior staff, empowering them to represent NCDC on key issues. If an NCDC driver was stopped on the road, I expected them to communicate effectively on our mission, from the logo of the vehicle, to the uniforms that they wore, to the words that they spoke. This approach was not just about crisis communication. It was about gaining the trust of Nigerian people. We also recognized the importance of a strong social media presence. In today's world, traditional media alone isn't enough. Social media is not a personal preference. I hear some people, some of my colleagues saying, listen, I'm DG, but I don't do social media. Sorry, it's not really your choice. So we expanded our presence across all media channels. Our comm strategy was not just about relaying facts, but it aimed to foster a relationship between NCDC and the public, ensuring that people had confidence in the information that we shared. The third example is emphasizing the strengthening of administrative capacity. Public health is not just about the expertise of specialists. It's about an entire ecosystem. It was essential that every team member, whether you're a lab technician, a driver, an administrative staff, performed his duties to the highest levels possible. So we developed a comprehensive onboarding system to help new staff to integrate into the culture that we were building and to develop values of excellence in all their positions. Recognizing the complexity of managing personal logistics, we implemented an efficient system for handling transfers, leave requests, and other administrative processes. This included streamlining workflows, ensuring timely approvals, providing transparency in all our operations. Although it seemed expensive at the time, we ensured that every member of staff that needed one had an official laptop to work with. And you would think that this is the norm in most public sector agencies, ministries, and parastatals. But simply it is not. We also prioritize ongoing training and professional development for all staff, providing access to resources needed to stay current in their fields. Although we often relied on our partners to support and fund this initiative, we maintained the momentum around what we're doing, encouraging staff to push themselves harder. We prioritize our financial management. One quick win was developing a best practice manual for robust financial management, which significantly improved our agility in the accountability operations. Now, let me share an anecdote with you might be very surprised about. In my first weeks in office, when I asked our accountant, a warm but old school colleague, to bring me the accounts of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, in 2016 is not that long ago, he brought this to me as handwritten notes. The account of a public parastatal was given to me literally written by hand. I was shocked, but I did not blame him. This was not his fault. It was not that he was failing the country, but our country had failed him. So we worked hard to improve our financial management systems and reporting processes, enabling us to respond quickly to emerging needs. By implementing transparent financial processes, we ensured that every donor, every partner could track how funds were utilized, building trust. I often remember the expressions of our partners when they came into my office. I would then call the accountant on. I would tell him to run the report. He will run the report in front of the partner, select the project, select the time frame, run the report, and show him exactly where we were. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thought to just give these 3 examples. I could share many more, but these 3 examples, our digital infrastructure, the opportunities in communication, and administration, were not just about ticking boxes. They were about building a public sector parastatal capable of responding to today's challenges and leading us into the future. We were not just preparing for a pandemic because we had no idea that a pandemic was coming. We were simply doing our work, the task that was given to us to build a new parastatal for the country. So when in 2020 we were hit by a pandemic, I'll be honest, no amount of preparation would have made us fully ready for the scale of that crisis. I cannot stand here and claim that our work alone prevented us from having some of the pandemic's worst impact. But precisely because of the groundwork we laid, we were able to respond in ways that would have been simply unthinkable 3 years ago. The digital systems that we built enabled us to track cases in real time. Our comms team provided daily updates to Nigerians, helping us to curb misinformation and establish a management framework for our response. It was the website that we developed in 2016 that turned out to be critical to hosting many services, including hosting our surveillance data and the travel portal that I'm sure many people in this room used, which enabled us to reopen our economy and to restart our country. It was the infrastructure that we built, both human and technical, that enabled us to scale up testing, establish isolation centers, distribute critical supplies nationwide, provide information rapidly to Nigerians, and many more. It was these investments 3 years before the pandemic that saved us from the shame that would have come to us as a country if we had not done those things without knowing that a pandemic was coming. Thank you. We were preparing for a future we couldn't see, and because of that preparedness, we were better able to respond with speed and efficiency, ensuring that we did not let Nigerians down. It wasn't perfect by any stretch of imagination. We made many mistakes, but we learned along the way. And the systems that we put in place held firm. Till today, Nigerians stop me across the world. After they greet me with this phrase, are you not the COVID man? They almost inevitably turn around and say to me, thank you for your service, DG. You made us proud. Almost inevitably, I shed a few tears. These days, we receive daily press releases announcing new director generals for government agencies. I doubt if you ask any of them their priorities, they would mention digitalization, they would mention communication, they would mention management functions. I have highlighted these 3 areas and the actions taken just to show that these priorities are well within the scope of any DG and what you as Nigerians should expect from any government agency. I haven't spoken about the specifics of the work NCDC does because that's outside the remit of this evening. What I decided to show that it can be done. This can be done. We have to move away from a culture of low expectations for our agencies and their staff. When I asked my big and dear sister, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, for advice when I just started, she told me in her characteristic way, with her hand around my shoulders, Chikwe, she said, avoid the syndrome of this is how we do it in Nigeria. And she urged me to push the boundaries and to push the standards that you set for yourself. So, as I slowly round up, let me come back to the question that I was actually asked to answer and to talk about, of how we prepare for the future. Sadly, I don't have any Nobel Prize winning ideas. I can offer only 2 principles from my own experience in governance in Nigeria, but also from working around the world. Firstly, dear brothers and sisters, sadly, there's no shortcut. We must build ourselves the expertise we need to move forward. Whether it's the next pandemic, the next financial crisis, the next development crisis, the next flood, the next cyber attack, or just the next working day, we must seek and use the knowledge at our disposal. We need our A-team in all sectors. We need our A-team in all sectors. This is the story of Nlng. Nlng was built by Nigeria's A-team. If we don't find the A-team to build our country, we will not start. Sadly, ladies and gentlemen, there's no low-hanging fruit anymore. We cannot commission Julius Berger to do this for us. No discredit to Julius Berger. We have to look internally and externally amongst our fellow Nigerians to find our own A-team, the best people for every sector and every agency. We need to stop viewing expertise as something foreign, out of our reach, in every area of human endeavor. I can assure you, because I've worked with them, there are Nigerians making significant contributions everywhere around the world. We need them now more than ever before. So let me tell you, some people tell me when they meet me, they say, Chikwe, thank God President Buhari found you. I thank them and acknowledge the opportunity of divine intervention. But this is not a strategy for nation building. If we relied just on God to build Nigeria LNG, I wonder where we would end up. The intentionality with which NLNG was built, conceptualized, and nurtured to where it is today did not happen by chance. A very senior official in our government recently told a journalist on a channel that today is watched around the world. She was speaking too much English when she was asked about the status of an environmental impact assessment. Many laughed and waved it away. Can you imagine the message that sends to the world? Imagine if LNG said, when it starts Train 7, discarding the need for an environmental impact assessment. Like Fani Amu is famously quoted as saying, while coaching one of our national teams, we expect to wumble and fumble our way to the title. Sadly, brothers and sisters, we cannot wish greatness upon ourselves. We must do the grind. It is either we do it the short way or the long way. But whatever we decide to do, we are slow off the starting blocks. In Nigeria and around the world, exceptional Nigerians are doing remarkable things. I am sure you have many examples of them. To create the future we seek, we must bring in the talent that we are so blessed to have, to start work. And I am not saying this as a theoretical concept. We did it in NCDC. All that you experienced during the outbreaks, the lab, the travel portal, the supply chain, the digital infrastructure, the proactive communication, was not done by exotic consulting firms. Most of it were done by dedicated civil servants with support from others. They did a great job within the context of a often berated public service. They found reasons to push themselves beyond what they thought was possible. We see some of this in our private sector today. Our fintech sector is regarded as one of the best in the world. So, why do I say this? Let's not externalize progress. We can make progress happen in Nigeria. We can build our A-team, but we must be willing to ask ourselves the hard questions and demand excellence and work for it. Finally, and perhaps most challenging for us, is that in addition to building the necessary expertise, we must find the courage to make the decisive action that will drive meaningful change. I suspect that this is our biggest challenge at the moment. In all honesty, with the caliber of individuals in this room today, I do not think I have said anything that is new or original. I am 100% sure that Professor Patutomi, Father Kuka, Ruben Abati that I saw in the room have expressed these opinions 1,000 times over in the articles and commentaries that they gave for us every day. The gap, I suspect, lies in whether we have the conviction to do what we need to do across all our sectors and across all levels of government. We need courage. We need courage, not only to make tough decisions, and you know what they are, but also the fortitude to let go of some of the pecks and trappings of power. We must have the courage to confront the truth of where we are, the years and opportunities that we have lost, and do away with the narrative that we are the giants of Africa or that we are a giant at all. We may not even be deserving, honestly, of a second chance. Greatness isn't something that we can wish on ourselves or just hope or pray for, and that it will happen to us, sadly. And to be honest, I have nothing against prayer, but we have to do the grind. It cannot rely on the random and sporadic appointments of Dara Akunyele in NAFDAC or Nuhu Ribadu in EFCC, followed by a return to business as usual. We all have heard the saying that fortune favors the bold. So we wait for leadership that will have the courage to do what needs to be done. So as we look into the future, we need expertise and we need courage in equal measure. I leave it to this esteemed audience to be part of making it happen. We can transform the despondent refrain of Naija go better into the true conviction that Nigeria definitely no go carry last. And we have to mean that when we say it. As we thrive for this change, let us remember the words of Nelson Mandela, that what counts in life is not the mere fact that we have lived. It is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we had. We owe it to ourselves to build for future generations. As we look ahead, let us draw inspiration from Nigeria LNG's achievements. Let us strive to create an environment where every Nigerian can excel, where every business can strive, where our nation will prosper again. Tonight's celebration is not just about LNG's success. It's about the potential that lies within every Nigerian. It's about the future we can build together. To Nigeria LNG, I offer you my heartfelt congratulations. Your dedication to excellence and nation building is a shining example to all of us. To our awardees, I urge you to continue pushing the boundaries, breaking barriers, and inspiring others. To my fellow Nigerians, I ask you, what role will you play in shaping our future? Lastly, thank you, Philip. Thank you, Philip, for inviting me to give this keynote address at your prestigious Grant Award night. Celebrating LNG's 35th year of incorporation and 25 years of operation is truly a humbling experience for me. Let us unlock the future we deserve, a future where LNG's success is not an exception, but the norm. Thank you very much.